Alright, Geordie Prepper here. Welcome to another news video. Just before we start, if you could just do me a massive favour, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so then you're notified when new videos come out. The area of focus today is Venezuela and Guyana. There's an area in between these two countries which both sides have contested over, and it's been a focus of tension between the two countries for quite a long time now. If we just look at the map here, you can see Venezuela and Guyana on the right. In between there is an area, it's called Guyana Essequibo. It's been contested since 19th century, early 19th century, I believe. So obviously Venezuela puts a big claim to it. Guyana, they also say that they have a claim to it. Fortunately or unfortunately for both of the countries, and obviously the people in the countries, there's a massive oil reserve has been found. So if we look at a map in more detail, basically, if you look to the north here, you can see Georgetown, and then there's like a large river inlet, which has itself got some islands at the mouth of the river, near Perico. Now, I believe that this river leads down into the area where these reserves have been found. So basically, we're looking at the Guyana highlands here. This area in green is essentially, I believe, where the resources have been found. It occupies about 40% of the area of Guyana. Guyana and Venezuela obviously having a massive interest in these resources that have been found. Around about the 15th of December, both of the presidents met. We can see Maduro on the right, and we've got Guyanese President Irfan on the left. So they had a little talk, and they said, we're not going to resort to force to settle the territorial dispute over the oil-rich Essequibo region, but obviously things were tense. You know, it's obviously each side wants the biggest slice of this pie, basically. So Venezuela held military drills after the UK sent a warship to Guyana, the HMS Trent. So Venezuela ordered the armed forces to hold military exercises in response to the British decision to send a warship to support neighbouring Guyana. So it would seem that the British more interested in supporting Guyana in this dispute. But Guyana has administered the area for decades. So, I mean, if Venezuela really didn't want it, then I'm sure that there would have been more conflict over this area, you know, by now. But now we've got this massive oil reserve has been found. All of the attention is now on that area for both countries. And then obviously you've got one side versus another. External parties are now interested in supporting either one or the other, probably based on their political alignment, you know, who they support and who the people in the country supported in the past. So basically, yet again, it's one side versus another, you know, like this polarization. Venezuela said that the troops that they deployed would stay until the vessel leaves, the HMS Trent. They sent the forces there because it was, you know, safeguarding their national sovereignty, according to them. The armed forces have been deployed not just in the east of the country, but across the entire territory. They will be there until the British imperialist boat leaves the disputed waters between Venezuela and Guyana. This contested area has a lot of coastline as well. They could use the inlet, the river mouth, and they could use that to export these resources, which they mine. Operations generate some 1 billion a year. There was already the extraction of resources in this area, but it seems that a new reserve was found, and then they've obviously become a lot more interested in the area due to how big this reserve is. I mean, some estimates claim it could be the biggest oil reserve in the world. Then around about beginning of the new year, we had Venezuela was withdrawing military assets after the HMS Trent left, apparently. President Maduro ordered on Sunday the withdrawal of part of the aeronaval assets deployed on the country's Atlantic coast ahead of the departure of the British warship. They'll remain vigilant and alert to any provocation. The border dispute between Guyana and Venezuela dates back to the 9th century, but it's gained momentum since around about 2018, when the International Court of Justice accepted the case and urged Venezuela not to change the current dynamics in the area. this could lead to resentment from both sides, possibly. One of them's going to side more with the international community. One of them's going to be kind of like seen as like the lone wolf. They're going to go a lot more solo with their own allies in regards to this area. Britain said that Venezuela's military maneuvers were unjustified. Obviously, Venezuela has conducted military exercises in the area. The international community and the Guyanese will obviously see this as a provocation. The Brazilian government believes that military manifestations in support of any of the parties should be avoided. So Brazil is kind of like being the mediator right now. They're saying that people should just put out of it. The international community just needs to, stay out of it and let these two work it out together. And we've got an image of the HMS Trent here, apparently. This article here is saying that imperial interests in the area are stoking the fire. Basically saying Venezuela and Guyana are sparring over the mineral-rich Essequibo region. Nicolas Maduro reinvigorated a long-standing dispute over the Essequibo, claiming it as a Venezuelan territory. There was a lack of interest in the area from Venezuela. There's been a lot more resources found. Suddenly they've got a bigger interest in the area. And then the HMS Trent is seen to be going to be taking part in joint exercises with Guyana. So if they're taking part in exercises, then obviously they've sided with Guyana. I think we can probably just extrapolate that if the British are supporting Guyana, then the United States is going to support Guyana. And, the Venezuelans have about 6,000 troops in the area. Obviously, this is why this area is a huge bit of contention right now. Most of the conflicts, if not all of them, in the world right now, the ones that are particularly serious, they're essentially resource wars. That's all it is. It's just purely about resources and the control of those resources. This article is basically saying that the United States, and this is from 7th of December, so they've probably already been conducting the joint drills by now. But as with Britain, they've decided that they're going to conduct the joint flight drills with Guyana. The US Embassy in Georgetown said in a statement on Thursday that the US Southern Command, which oversees military operations in Central and South America, would conduct flight operations with the Guyanese military. So, like I said, there was a resource wars. They've found a massive amount of resources in the area. They want control over it. Essentially, over the past few decades, the Guyanese have been administering the area. And then all of a sudden, because of the resources that were found, Venezuela has a big interest in the area. Further creating more conflict and tension, and basically the people in between are who are going to suffer the consequences, I think, because, there's about... This area constitutes 40% of the recognised part of Guyana. Guyana, as it stands now, obviously recognised borders. The area that's under contention, if it was to get handed over or taken by Venezuela, essentially that's 40% of Guyana has been removed. Alright, so that was focused on Venezuela and Guyana. This is obviously an area, a lot of attention, a lot more attention right now, this area. But obviously there's things happening all over the place right now. So we can't just focus, or at least try not to focus our attention too much in one area, because we might miss something else that is happening. So thanks very much for watching. Be safe, be prepared. Take care.